Hi, everybody. So in about 2011 and 12, I was currently serving as the Title I elementary ed director for my school district. And my superintendent walked down the hallway and he said, "Would you be interested in being the EC director?" Now, I'd been an EC teacher, but certainly not the director of an entire school district as far as the EC population is concerned. And so, that's a big job, probably one of the biggest jobs, I think, within the school district. And so it took me a little bit of time to get myself wrapped around that. I say all that just because understand that I was a newbie. But long story short, comes the next spring, and I muddled through. I felt pretty well. I built my staff, I built my teams, but in the spring I received a notice from the state of North Carolina, and basically it was from DPI, and it said that Rockingham County was found to be on a warning list for disproportionality. Second year into this job, received another warning. And so I'm looking at it again and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, it tells us that we're going to be on this warning list another year. And if we are on that warning list for a third year in the row, then we could lose our federal funding, and that we would have to do some corrective action. So we did this deeper dive of data. We found that our discipline was disproportionate, not only with our African-American males, which was where we initially landed on that list, but it was also disproportionate for our African-American females. So I created a discipline task force, which included teachers, principals, district office staff, etc. And we began to really look at the data. So as we looked at the data, we began to put together profiles of each school. So that fall, when we brought all of our principals back together for our retreat, I did a special session with all of our staff in which I basically pulled out notebooks, and everyone got their notebook, and that data showed them what populations of students in their schools were at risk. We explained what a risk ratio and a risk index was. We explained what they needed to look for when they saw their data. And then we asked them to problem solve in small groups around and have conversations around their data. And so that is presented. We also presented at that time all of the data across the district to show them that it wasn't just one school problem, it was a full school district problem, and that we needed to really consider our actions as we moved along. Around about the same time, we also identified about 8 of our schools that we really saw that their disproportionality was really significant. And so what we did was we asked for someone from DPI to come. Laura Winters was her name, and she came from DPI and did cultural response training for those particular schools. And so what happened was those schools sent sort of train the trainer teams, and we met with them for the entire year. And basically every time that she came and trained, then they would go back to the school and they would deliver the same kind of information and data and tasks, and then they would come back and we would problem solve around some things and then talk about some of the action steps that we wanted to follow through with. About that time, we also began to talk about equity, and you can imagine, I mean, you cannot talk about disproportionality without talking about equity. We went to an outside source, and we went to a company or a group, an organization, and we asked them to do the professional development for us. We were also a pilot for MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. And there were 3 school districts in our entire state that were requested to be a part of this MTSS. And we were one of those. We piloted across our school district that first year 5. And so we worked with 5 elementary schools and worked with their discipline data, their academic information as well. So lots is going on, right? Lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. We were supposed to go out to schools, and principals were going to lead equity training around racial equity with our teachers. Now, had we known that maybe there would have been as much pushback about that, we probably would have taken a couple of different steps. So I'm going to tell you, there is a really big step between what an administrator is willing to have a conversation about and maybe what a teacher sees and what they think when all of this is happening at the district level, and then it begins to filter down into the school and the classroom level. And what we heard a lot from all of our teachers was that we love them. Why would you think that we had any racial biases of any kind? We love all of our students, and we did believe we believe them. We do believe that our teachers love their students, but we also know that there is a lot out there that can be learned about equity and about racial equity. We did not have a lot of success with that. I'll just be very honest. And so what we did was we went to the neighboring university, who does a lot of training with equity within their own education department. And we asked for one of our neighboring universities to be a part of that training and to continue our training, but in a different formatting way and a different formatting presentation. And we went back to the drawing board and did a lot more work with that. Our discipline task force continues and has been flourishing. So we found ourselves after implementing MTSS and working with now not only 5 schools, but now into year 3 and 4, we've implemented with several more elementary schools. We found that our discipline had dropped to 5,000 ODRs per year. So we're moving along, and our discipline is really we're beginning to see the fruits of our labor. We're beginning to see our discipline drop significantly, and we're seeing those risk ratios drop in all of our schools. And lo and behold, of course, we were off of that list within 2 years' time, because you have to come off of that list after you have produced positive results for 2 years running. And so wonderful that we were able to come off. During that time, we created our discipline regulation reference guide. What we did was we went to DPI. We use in North Carolina, we use PowerSchool as our database. And so we went to we get this report at the end of every year or at the beginning of every year, a manual, and it's about discipline reporting and how we report back. And so I go to that manual and I look every year at those reportable offenses, those office referrals. For example, I might have one here, 052, UB bullying. Now, what the 052 is it's the code in PowerSchool. And so I went into PowerSchool, I found bullying, I found the code, I looked at the definition. We also looked at the state definition on DPI's website for bullying, what bullying represents, or what is the definition. We made sure that our schools in this column, and again, it's not you can't see it, but hopefully you'll look at it. In the first column, we offered them the definition for it. In the second column, we offered them some solutions or some strategies that they can do that is boots on the ground. If you're a classroom teacher, these are some things that you can offer and do for bullying in your school. And then we offer in the third column, we offer recommendations for principals. So we might say elementary school, and we always break this up between elementary and secondary. So the first offense is just in-school consequence up to 1 day of OSS. We have a bullying report that our principals complete. And if that bullying report finds that there is bullying that has actually taken place, then the student is assigned, obviously a consequence. And so what we do is we give them a range. So at our high school, we say first offense up to 3 days of OSS, second offense up to 5 days of OSS, and third offense up to 10 days. Now, everybody here or listening probably is in administration, and you know that every principal is going to manage these things in a different somewhat of a different way. But what we wanted to be able to do was to offer our principals what we felt was a playbook. And that playbook was for them, which is this discipline regulation reference guide. And it provides them with consequences and sort of a uniform way of handling things. I will tell you now that our principals absolutely love this handbook. Every year I provide our principals and our APs with a survey, and we ask them for their input. What do you like about the handbook? What do you think should be made differently? What do you feel like is something that, you're not, you don't feel like it particularly handles that situation? So as you can imagine, buses are always a big issue for us. So this past year, we had a survey from our principals, and they offered me some feedback about buses and how they would like to see the consequences. We went back, we looked at the data. We said, okay, the bus data for discipline basically supports that. And so we were able to provide them with the change that they requested. This is linked in our board policies, so it's not even a surprise to our parents. We make sure that this link is in our student handbook every year. We make sure it's on our website, and we also make sure that it is in our board policies. It's attached under 4300, our code of conduct. So we make sure that it is very open and very transparent to our parents. There is nothing that we are hiding from them. The other big thing that we did, besides the discipline handbook, besides the discipline disproportionality and the data dives, our school, we have a great guy who can code, and he created what we call our data mart. And so our administrators can go in, and every single day they can look at their data. They can go to their school improvement teams. They can pull their data from last year to this year. They can look at their risk ratios and risk index, and they can say, okay, so this past year, we noticed that all of our discipline, or the bulk of our discipline, happened on buses, in the hallways, and in the classroom. And so they can begin to think about some of the professional development. Sometimes they reach out to our department, and we share resources. We may go out and do presentations for them. And then we make sure that they have all the data that they need, particularly for their school, by going into the data mart and pulling that data. Post-COVID, our discipline has tremendously increased in these last 2 years. And so what are our initiatives now? What are we trying to do to sort of right the ship? We have brought in an individual that we are training all of our school counselors, all our school social workers, all of our school behavioral health specialists, our nurses, our assistant principals. And they are going back and working with their staff. And what we found this past year when looking at our data was that our classroom management, where the bulk of our discipline was happening, was in the classroom. And we're working on student relationships, what that looks like, how teens' brains develop, how relationships, how we can interact with teens, how to de-escalate situations so that, hopefully better relationships and trust are built with teachers in the classroom. And that what we're hoping is that this is going to make a significant difference in the way that our students see their teachers. That we continue on with the good fight, if I call it that, when it comes to how we deal with discipline in our school district, how we address it from the top down and from the classroom up. And we know that we have to get our teachers to buy into what we're doing, but they have to see the value of that. So that's my story. It's the sort of the down and dirty, gritty, everyday challenge of a school district when it comes to discipline and equity. But I hope that it's something that you can relate to and that you get something out of. So thank you for letting me be here. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of a session.